Namaste. The divine in me honors the divine in you. Welcome to Cafe Stimulate. I'm so happy that you decided to stop by and have coffee with me today. Today, I'm going to start with a message that I actually tapped on from a previous message. And in that previous message, we talked about how in religion, it has like a lot of different denominations, and how also in spirituality, how it has, the same as well. It has different sectors and things where it goes into. And and I kind of expressed that even though we have, that spiritual and religion thing going, in actuality, how we're supposed to navigate the matrix is by going within. And so that both of these paths are very broad paths. And what I mean by that is, they've already been paved and carved out throughout tradition for many, many, many years, okay? And they were paved by men. And the only way to, be sure of, your connection, with the divine is by taking the path within. It's the path that you decide to follow with God and make your connection. And that's the path that you can never go wrong with. And so I was stating that because there's a lot of people, they feel very comfortable in these paths, not because, they like, I'm going on this path because this is what I actually want. I'm not saying some people are like that, but there are some people that are only on that path because they were put on that path. Remember, like I said before, this is the realm of the subconscious mind. And so some people, even though it was fed to them this path and it was told to them that it was the right way, they stuck to it, just out of obedience and sticking to that path. And I wanted to talk about that in another video. I spoke of the 5 heartbeats and how his father, Eddie's father, had a moment when he told him that, he wasn't going to be ish and, you're going to be just like me. And that was an emotional part of the movie for me because, it makes me cry every time. Because I was like, oh man, who he needed to hear it from most, who he wanted his dad to be really proud of him, is what he needed to hear the most. And he didn't get that. But then again, when you look at from the father's standpoint, in his way of being raised, that stern, way, if you listen to what he says, after all of that, because the mother stands up and she says, why did you say that to him? Why? And he was like, I just wanted him to be better than me. And so when I hear that, I'm like, oh, because, as a parent, that's what you would want for your children, to grow up to be better than you, or do, or go beyond or greater than what you did. And when I think back on my parents, it's a blessing in who they are and how they paved the way, for us, meaning that my parents had to do a risky thing or take a risk that most people don't do. For example, some people don't make it out of their hometowns. They stay there, because it's all they know. And that's kind of, it's not a bad thing, but for most it can be. Because it's just like, like I said, the realm of the subconscious mind, they got in the rhythm, in the flow of what they've always known. And what I'm trying to, bring about or talk about is like, because we're talking about things also of the mind, but I'm connecting it from the spiritual to the physical. And so, like, I talked about the neurons and, that thing called neuroplasticity, and that's neuroplasticity. There I go. Okay. And in that is how, the mind is able to create new neural passageways. And when you're able to do that within the mind, you open yourself up to, more potential, to understand and to, other things. So let me flow. I'm trying to flow, right? Okay. So that's what you're basically doing. You're opening up a new passageway, because in the brain, you have passageways that have already formed, passageways that you've already taken so many times. But if you look at within your life, you have to see, like, is that really working? Or has it worked? And if it has worked, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, But if it's not really working to the way that, you would like it, then we have this lifetime to figure it out. That's the whole part of, self-discovery down here on this earth. We're down here to take a look at ourselves, and that's the part of being on this realm. Like, we'll say, being here on this earth is about discovery of self, but your connection, with the conscious mind is you coming to the knowledge of, God and the knowing. They say, like, there's a scripture that says that, like, the beginning of wisdom, I think it's just the beginning of wisdom is, knowing God. And I think the beginning of knowledge or knowing is knowing thyself. And both for all those are within you. And so this experience is to actually bring that out of you. The things I was saying about my parents, them taking that risk to be able to move from, one state to another, without having the foundations in the support, just being able to, lean on each other. And when they did that, it presented them with, different opportunities. You could see how God was, guiding them, the whole time. And as a child of theirs, if you look at our family now, our family is scattered. I gotta, I'm here, and my brother is, I started thinking about it. I was like, well, I want to put out my location. And so, we're all over. Okay. So I didn't want to put out anybody's location. So I had to stop and think, like, nah, I don't want to do that. But we're all over the US, and we've all branched out on our own, and we're exploring life for ourselves. And I know my parents at first was like, wow, whoever thought that their kids would branch out and do that. But that's something, that we learned, through them. And we learned to forge our own passageways. And that's what you're supposed to do. And that is what we're supposed to do on, micro scale, but to the macro. So if you take it out, as we talk about the collective, what are we supposed to be doing? We also are supposed to be, forming these new passageways. All right, so we can move forth, into, the future. And that's what we haven't been doing. We've been really sticking to the old. Now, don't get me wrong. Those things are what we use from the past to learn from. But even though we've learned something, even though our parents taught us some things, they would want you to go forth and be better and do better than what they accomplished or achieved. You understand that? And that's the same thing, with God. We've been told that these old passageways that we're supposed to stick to and adhere to. And, it's kind of weird because now we're in 2025, but we have books, that are thousands and thousands, ancient books, And so even though they hold very ancient wisdom, even though they do, we're supposed to still evolve from that. Just think about, had we just been holding on to old information, just like we're going to follow it just like this, where would we be? There would be no cars. There would be no cell phones. There would be no airplanes. There wouldn't be any of the technology that you are enjoying today. But think about the people that tried to stand in the way of the people that was trying to bring these new creations forth, these new innovations forth, these new pathways forth. Think about the first plane and what the people probably said. Oh, you crazy. Oh, you gonna fly? So both of y'all gonna take this cardboard and y'all gonna put some pedals on it, and this is gonna be in the sky. Let's be realistic. You heard that before? Have you ever heard, you need to be more realistic? Those be the ones in the Matrix, and try to keep you so, ain't nothing wrong with being grounded, but like too grounded that it's like, it tries to stagnate you from, get you to not move forward in, what you're trying to create and what you're trying to do. It's the ones that's standing in the way. Is that really realistic? Yeah. The same person that probably said, I'm gonna make a cell phone so I can talk to somebody on the other line. Wait, because when you try to talk to people, that's nothing. When you try to talk to people that really don't have a creative part of themselves, or they haven't awakened to that part so they can see things that seem impossible to be, possible, you really just can't really communicate with them, because they always got something they want to intervene or stop, or this. Okay, no, but what about this? And what about that? It's always something, they consider, keeping things grounded. But are they really? Are they really? No, some people, I heard, what was it saying? That some people can't, understand you or know you as far as they know themselves. And so sometimes you can have those type of people in your lives that would be causing you to doubt, your abilities, when God has put something in you that he was like, it's going to cause you to stretch or move forward. And even though what you're trying to do, nobody has really ever seen, it doesn't matter. God is moving you forward. God said, I'm with you in this. Just like me being on here, I didn't want to, really be on here. When God told me, to make, the videos and things like that, I was like, yeah, I'll be behind the scenes. I'll make some, I'll write my little script out and say it, that's pretty cool until it was not. And he was like, no, that's not how I want you to do it. I want you to say it, with your little country voice, not your customer service voice. He's like, I'll go ahead on there and be country as you are. If the ones that listen to you gravitate to you, those are the ones for you. And the ones who want to understand you, they will. And the ones who don't want to understand you, they didn't want to understand you anyway. So why worry about it? Okay? So just go ahead and go forth in what you're doing. If it wasn't for the people who were, bold to stand and see a vision. Remember, Martin Luther King had a vision. Even though it wasn't looking like it was possible at the time, they was beating him up and put him in jail. But remember, a vision, those are the things that you need to help transform the subconscious mind. And so you see a thing, and then you take the actionable steps to move towards those things, even if it doesn't look like it's possible. But there's a scripture in the Bible that says it's not what's in the seen, it's in the unseen, what you cannot see. Okay. And so a lot of people are stuck on this realm, on that surface level. They got to see it. But remember, we internalize things first, and then we bring them into manifestation. Okay? The divine helps us to bring it into manifestation. I'm not gonna, we're co-creators. We do it together. So I'm not trying to make it seem like, I do it all by myself. No, it's a unity thing. When you come in union with God and you come in union with, within yourself, that's when the magic happens. Okay. But yes, so we are here to forge those new neural passageways, and we're not to be scared of it, because a lot of people are just like, they're afraid to detach, from those cycles. You know what I'm saying? I had to go back and delete some things because it shut off right in the middle because I was out of storage. And so, yeah, we are here to actually not escape the matrix. A lot of people are like, we're supposed to, escape duality and escape the matrix. Actually, we're supposed to use it as a transformative tool, not only for, our well-being, but also, to help others, transform their matrices, within themselves. And when we individually begin to do that, then by example, then other people, would learn that. They're like, oh, okay, that's really how the matrix really works, huh? Okay. And it branches out. And so you as an individual, it deeply is about you going within yourself. I was talking about from the beginning the thing about all the different religions and all the different spiritualities and things like that, and all those are different lenses and filters which we allowed, or through childhood, that were put on us, and how we should see the world. And to be honest about it, we are here to take off, all these different lenses and all these different, ways we've been given to perceive, this reality. And when we step into the consciousness, the connection, your relationship with God, he, transforms you. And that's why it's a scripture talking about you being a new creature, right? Yeah, he's giving you a new perception, a new way of viewing things. And remember, and in this new perception and this new way of seeing things, now you're able to, see the world with these new eyes, and you're able to, through his guidance, he'll be able to show you how to attack different situations and problems differently than how you've ever, approached these problems before. Okay? One thing I also wanted to bring that if people want you to make a decision, about, how you move about this matrix. And the best thing that actually, like, I ain't telling nobody what to do. I'm just talking, here. If it drops the seed, it does. If it don't worry about it. But as we are multidimensional beings, you are eternal. You've been, maybe not on this earth, maybe other places, different places. There is so much to you. There's a movie called The Emojis. Yeah, it's called The Emojis. And, she was telling him, which I like Smiler actually, she was like, oh, I'm always happy. So, I like her little character. She's cute. But she was like, you can only be one thing. Basically, in the movie, they was trying to get him to conform to one thing. But he found, within him, he understood that he's so many things. Just like you. If you really understand that you have had many lifetimes on this earth, it's very, God allowed that to open up your perception. You shouldn't, the most prejudiced people are probably the ones that never really learned that. And that's why they have a problem with connecting with other people. You know what I'm saying? Or seeing other people in a different light. As much as you may criticize somebody for, being, Islamic or something like that, you could have spent, a lifetime as a Muslim. You could have spent a lifetime, as an Egyptian. You could have spent a lifetime, in all these different places. All is, within God. And we all are in him. And everybody that we trying to, put out and say that, what they doing is bad and who they gods are bad and things. Once upon a time, they was you. They were you. That was you. You was over there, out there in the jungle skinning that meat. You know what I'm saying? And sacrificing that meat and doing all that stuff or whatever. All that was us, but we evolved, from all of that. And so don't feel bad if you have like a connection to, a different culture. Just like in the movie, one of my favorite movies, The Last Dragon, they talked about him being a black man who was into kung fu and karate. He had a deep inner connection, to that culture, and he lived in Harlem. He had that connection, but he didn't know why, but he felt so at peace within it. And so it reminds me of my daughter. She went to the library and she told me she was getting books on how to, study, Chinese and Japanese. And she has a real close, tie to, wanting to understand that culture and their And it just dawned on me, you know what, she may have a connection. Her demeanor and how she is, especially when it comes to like social justice and all those type of things, she's very close to that. And that's near to her heart. So I'm not gonna rule out that she possibly had a lifetime, in one of those places. And as for me, deeply rooted is Egypt. And I'm going to tell you this, like when you travel, and people who travel or whatever are the people who are very deeply in tuned, with their past, because they're always traveling, going back to rediscover those places, they've always been, you know what I'm saying? It brings, a certain awakening to you. And there's a reason why God allows you to go to certain places. Because remember, like I said, well, if you ain't seen the short, I did a short when it actually talked about, when somebody is, happy or excited for receiving a gift or something, then, you be happy and you be excited with them. But if that's actually something that you also was kind of wanting for yourself, or you was waiting for that manifestation to come through, then consider it a blessing that God allowed you to be within their frequency, to celebrate with them, because you're now in the presence of somebody who has received, It's because you have to be on the frequency of feeling like you've already received. In manifestation, it talks about you have to believe that you already received it. So if you're in the frequency of somebody who already received that thing or that blessing that came through, just know that, hey, you're up next. God's just letting you know, not to make you feel mad and like, where my stuff or whatever like that. It's to let you know that, your blessing is coming through too. And, some people be like, I don't want people around me when I'm getting my blessing. And then I had people destiny swap with me. It'd be interesting. People be talking about destiny swapping, and you live in a house by yourself with all your cats, talking about somebody want destiny swap with you. Like, they trying to destiny swap with me. No, nobody's wanting to destiny swap with you. You know what I'm saying? It's some people that take stuff too far. It just, nobody's trying to do that or whatever. And if you don't want nobody to be around you to celebrate when you get, your stuff, then fine, just say that. It's not every time. Everybody out there ain't into witchcraft. Everybody ain't on to that or whatever. Everybody ain't trying to take your stuff. It's just some people. So, anywho, going on, places you go. Sometimes God would try to allow you to travel to a place, and could be a place where you previously died. Okay, your last energy was somewhere in the vicinity of that area somewhere. You know what I'm saying? But it's not a bad thing. It's just you pick up a little bit more yourself of that energy of the things and that ancient knowledge and wisdom that you learn. And I'll say, for one thing, for me, Egypt, right? Before I got a chance to go to Egypt, God had already presented to me that, as a child, because when I was in the 4th grade, we just moved, from the country into the city to go to this elementary school. And when I went to this elementary school, this had actually been the year where they was going to open what they call the Egypt Alexander Museum, where it's the first time they brought all the stuff from Egypt and made it available in the United States. And it was in Texas. And my class, was able, to go. It was a field trip. And so, at first we was learning about it, and within my soul, I made a connection with it. I was like, wow, this is so interesting. I love this. And this is in 4th grade. And then, we went to the museum. And when I went to the museum, I was like, it was a heavy connection. I was like, oh my gosh, I was getting close to these artifacts and things like that or whatever. And I was like, wow, this is truly interesting. And it always stuck with me. And then when I graduated from high school, so from then I always had that love of Egypt, right? So I graduated from high school and I decided to go to the Army. I wanted some adventure in my life. I didn't want to go straight away to college because I wasn't sure yet what I wanted to do. But I knew that it would get me away from the house fast. So I joined the Army. And so after doing basic training, it was time for me to go to my permanent party. And at my permanent party, there was a dilemma of me going to my duty station because I was supposed to be at Fort Eustis. But there was a woman that was there, and she was crying because she was like, well, my husband is on Fort Eustis, but you got me on this other post that's like up the street somewhere, like it was down in Virginia Beach, Virginia. It's called Fort Story. And she was crying and stuff, and she was just like, I really want to be with my husband on this post. Why did y'all give us like a different, our different schedulings? Why'd you do that? And so, people start to come in, so that we can give them our assignments so they can assign us. And she was crying, and he started looking over, my orders. And so he says, well, you are a 92 Yankee and she is a 92 Yankee. And so the woman looked at me and she was like, oh my God. She was like, you're a 92 Yankee. And I was like, oh, okay. and so like, I'm not getting it, right? She was like, do you mind switching posts with me? And so I'm like, I don't know about that or whatever. And a guy that was in the back, he was leaned back on a chair, and he was just like, and I was like, oh, okay, all right, I guess. All right, yeah, I'll do it or whatever. And so the woman jumped with joy. She was so happy or whatever. So I basically gave up my orders for them to give me another set of orders to go to, this post, right? Once he got done with her orders, he sent her away. And he told me, he was just like, that is like, Fort Story is like the best kept secret, in the Army. He was like, it's a very beautiful post. He said, it's on Virginia Beach, Virginia, right on the beach. He said, you're going to love it there. He was like, no regrets. And I was like, all right. So, actually the setup for me to go to that post, actually there was the battalion there would soon be the battalion to go to Bright Star, Egypt. So I winded up going to the post that actually was able to, transition me to be over there, in Egypt, where I got to experience the place and the land. And to me, it was like I got to come into that frequency of being like really tapped in, and it did a lot of amazing things, for me. I was like, wow, it really, hit one of those. And I actually think that Egypt is around that area. I'm not sure. One of those areas there's the earth has different chakras in different areas, because the earth, she's her own soul. She's a living, breathing, living being herself. And yes, she has energy centers. And another one of those energy centers, because if you go look up the energy centers, you got to go to the right place, because everybody is saying that the different energy centers are in a different place. And so, the reason why I say that is because I studied this like years ago, like before people really started getting into spirituality, because the thing that you Google about spirituality now is not the same stuff that if you had the internet probably years ago would be the same information. Everything is now kind of milk down. And it's real not, it doesn't really have no substance at all. When they tell you what the chakras mean and stuff like that, they start talking about your digestive system and things like that. And, not saying that that's not important and things, it is, it's more about the external than it is like the energy centers that they are. And so, we've kind of, I'll just say this, when it comes to getting the really information that you're trying to look for, like the real goods are not the first thing you actually Google. Like you're going to have to go hundreds of pages back before you start getting to anything of any substance. Okay. Because the stuff that I be coming across now is nothing like what it used to be. Okay. You used to be able to get some real good spiritual stuff. That's when nobody wouldn't worry about it. But now that people are now coming into spirituality, they're trying to make sure that you get the most milk down version as possible. Like, because they don't want y'all to tap into no power of any kind. And then people are doing things, they're running around blowing their third eye open and not knowing you can't do that. Because it's something that has to happen gradually, because it's all kind of processes involved, meaning that you're coming into a frequency, and if you are on a very, low frequency, you can try to blow that thing open, and then you have all them stories. Oh, the third eye is so demonic. And it's so this. And so, well, tell me your experience. Yeah, well, I went on a ayahuasca, we unched some stuff and we blew that thing open and there was craziness happening all around me. Yeah, because, you soul-wise was not prepared and you wasn't on the frequency to be able to do that. It has to open up gradually. Why? It's like levels to this. You just can't go take somebody that's like in kindergarten and throw them in university or something like that. There are things that have to go on, things you have to learn, and that's why everybody is on this journey. You're not supposed to be on the same level as somebody else. This is your own personal journey. You'll come into the knowing when the divine, presents it to you. Like when it comes to wisdom and knowledge, it will come to you in a time when, it's in the time that when you are ready to receive, certain things. You're continually wanting to be, connected to the divine. And as you continually try to strengthen that connection, that's when they pour in more. So the more you come into actually genuinely wanting to be connected with God, that's when those type of things begin to be presented to you. Okay. And so, yeah, I'm getting off. And so basically what I was saying about, sometimes when you travel, different places, yes, I get into doing, the activities and things there, but I really try to, soak in what God is trying to tell me about that culture, or is there something from the past, some kind of past connection that I have with this or not? Because I also got a chance to go to Hawaii, and I knew that was divinely guided by God for me to be able to go to Hawaii, because Hawaii is the heart chakra. Is and it's funny because there's a movie called Moana, and it was like the heart was with Maui, and it was saying that Tafiti's heart was with Maui, and so the heart chakra is in that area of Maui, Hawaii. And it was funny because Maui was like some kind of narcissist or whatever. And what did he say? He said that, I took the heart so I can give it to man so that they can create life. And so it's interesting enough with all these fires and things happening in LA, that if you watch that movie, because the heart was taken, things was like burning up, around the islands and things like that or whatever. And not too long after that movie, guess what happened to Hawaii? It started, burning up, over in those areas and stuff. And we can say that it was natural or whatever, but I actually kind of believe that, if people, the wrong type of people, want that land, okay, and they don't want to pay people, and ask them and do things right, the rich want that land. But we, just like they tried to be all crazy about The Rock and Oprah asking people to send money to Hawaii, and people like, y'all got money, why don't y'all do? Well, actually what was actually happening was, we should try to keep people on that land, like the natural people, because if you ever go to Hawaii, it's such a peaceful place, very warm, beautiful, let me tell you, atmosphere. And I really feel like when I went there, it brought me on a whole nother frequency. I was like, oh my gosh, this is wonderful. It was very, very an experience, I'll just say that. And so you don't want to put a lot of rich, narcissistic, evil people on the heart of that land, because it's a heart chakra, it's an energy center, and we don't want a lot of corrupt people taking over that land. And we should, to keep everything stabilized everywhere in the world, we want to keep the people that are there, that are supposed to be there, in that area. We don't need the rich people to come over there and take over and with their evil ass hearts. You know what I'm saying? Trying to take that over. Interesting enough, there is a chakra over in California too, and it's on fire. Okay, and what is it called? Mount Shakti or something like that. Yeah, something like that. I probably said it wrong, whatever. But California over there and on fire. I think in California, that is the crown chakra area. So the United States, holds the crown chakra area, which says a lot, and that it's burning, that it's on on fire. Okay, so I'm not gonna get into that. But what I wanted to go ahead and get into is, let me land the plane and bring it back around, because I'm going to end this because it's gotten too long. And so, yeah, when I talked about us having to, build these new passageways, a lot of people are scared to do that because, we shouldn't fear. Fear is not something, that actually is something we should build off of. We are free souls. We actually should want to, progress further. You have to also think, even though things are old, you got to use your logic to understand that some of the things that happened in them old texts wasn't right. You know what I'm saying? We're in a better place where women are being treated better, or should be being treated better, because we are moving to oneness, meaning that, you don't see the woman as something that's just like she's cattle or something like that. You see the woman as the subconscious mind and the conscious mind. You see it as something that needs to be integrated, something that needs to be worked with, something that needs to be cultivated, and we're moving out of that mindset, that like, even though they had the past, we learn from it, but it doesn't stop us from growing and evolving. And that's the whole point of the soul's journey, to evolve. If your parents taught you a way of living and things like that, they just want to see you do better and go further than them. But sometimes you going further, sometimes it may scare them. You know what I'm saying? Because it may be a uncharted area that you're not, they're not used to being in. But you shouldn't allow that to stop you from taking the risk. Because when you walk the path, the inward path, it's risky. Nobody wants to do it. It's weird. It's kind of like you feel like, you're out and it's like you're without instruction sometimes. But it's the path of the unknown, and once you start to go on this path, I'm on it, I'm going. And, God wanted me to come out and speak when I didn't want to, but he was like, I need you to learn this new skill. I need you to get good at it, because it's something in it is where I'm trying to take you. And if you can't talk on camera, then you know what I'm saying? You can't talk on camera. You uncomfortable. I need you to get comfortable, Paula. I'm like, okay, God. Damn it. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm an introvert. But look at that. I have to come into the new mindset that if there's a season where you've been enough introverted, it's time for you to be a little bit more extroverted. Okay? Seems a little bit, and so that's that balance that's coming back out, remember? So in your life, you would be experiencing one thing. Let's say at one part of your life you experience poverty, but then if you keep going on the journey, if you learn how to see everything through, he's going to bring you to the end where you experience, abundance and living, or, abundance doesn't always mean you having a lot of stuff. Sometimes abundance just means, that kind of joy, or whatever, that spirit of the spirit, because there is an area where you need to learn how to be content in certain things too. But it doesn't mean you can't have stuff. So there's a balance in that. So that's where I always come to talking about polarity. We're not trying to escape duality. You're trying to learn how to alchemize it, because that's what we're here to do. We're here to, take what we've been given, whatever cards you've been given, you play those cards. You know what I'm saying? And you play it to the best and make it work out for you. And then what happens, you do the best you can with them, and then, you get to try again. But as long as you got that heart to, want to see the best and want to pull the best out of there, the same thing with I'm thinking about the crucible, pulling out the impurities and things that are probably, stagnating and keeping, you from going to the places God is trying to take you. Trying to get you to open up that mind, because, I see. Okay. Yeah. Just trying to get you to open up that mind so that you can, move further. So whatever you're doing or whatever it may make you feel a little scared because you're looking around like everybody else ain't doing it. But I think that's the point. Whatever God is giving you has got to scare you a little bit. A dream got to scare you a little. You got to take that risk, because in that risk is like that faith that's trying to build the faith in you to take even bigger risk, to even dream bigger, to even, be able to go beyond what somebody else would ever think that you'll be able to do. Just look at all the things that we have because people took risk and went beyond and thought whatever anybody would ever thought to think. We got space shuttles going to space. How many times that person who said, I'm going to build a space shuttle, somebody said, let's be realistic. Go to space, really? You know what I'm saying? They said Kevin Hart, really? All the things that we're doing, the buildings and skyscrapers and all these wonderful inventions. Now we got an invention now, where we're breaking the boundaries of languages. You can put this thing in your ear, and whatever somebody's saying, it'll communicate it back to you. You can't go nowhere now. Don't worry about not being able to speak the language. You'll be able to, it also will repeat back to you, what you can say and things. At least we can understand each other. And so, we're actually in this world, we're actually are coming together. I know everybody wants to see everything as the end, but, what it could be if we actually open ourselves to allow ourselves to, tear down these, all these different types of blinders that we don't put on ourselves, all these different perceptions of seeing and things like that, and really like take them down so we can clearly see each other for, who and what we are as spiritual beings having a human experience. That's what we all are. Then we can actually move somewhere in this world. We can actually really pull this world together, which I know people can't ever see that happening, but think about it. That's the alchemy. So there's a scripture that says, all things are possible to those that believe. Okay, but then people will say the same scripture and then sit back and tell you how impossible something is. What you gonna believe? Is it impossible? Or nothing, is impossible. So I'm gonna end it at that, or whatever. So thanks for stopping by and having coffee with me today. Hope you enjoyed, our break time together. And so I just want to tell you, say Ashe and have a good day. Bye. Thanks for stopping in. If you would like to contact me, email me at cafestimulate@outlook.com. Thanks again. Bye.